Good afternoon. I'm MJ from Linus Publications, and I want to have a session. And it's probably not going to be too short. Um, and it's on Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas is one of the Supreme Court justices. And I'm going to be moving on to do all the justices at some point or another because I think it's important, just like I'm going to be doing the countries in South and Central America because of what's going on. Now, I expect that he's probably going to be in the news in the next few months. And I want to sort of get ahead of that a little bit just to sort of bring up some stuff. So, we're going to look at his natal chart, and then we're going to look at three additional charts that are his transit charts. And they're interesting. I think his natal chart is pretty interesting. We're not going to get into details other than what it portends from a legal standpoint, since he is on the Supreme Court. So we're not getting into personal type of things. So let's start. Now, I have his chart up, and there are a few things now that it's not all the angles, but there are things that I want to discuss because I think they're really interesting. So first off, we've got the Sun, Mercury, and Venus all conjunct. And they're all conjunct in a sign, Cancer, which is a very compassionate, very caring type of sign. And this is also something that most people don't see about him because whenever he's on the judge, whenever he's sitting on the court, he's always very professional, very to the point. But it appears that with his colleagues, this type of conjunction means that he's going to be very friendly with people. He's going to want to keep the peace. He's someone that's probably known as speaking to his truth or his convictions. So he feels strongly about things, and that's what, and he's very much tied to that. So it's not something that's very fleeting. He also, wants to practice law with compassion. That's what this would indicate, having this type of conjunction in Cancer. Since there's a Mercury involved here, he is going to be intellectual. He's going to be a voice of reason. Since we have Venus, it's also very refined type of expressions. With Mercury here, I would expect with the Venus and the Sun, he probably does rather well in writing his opinions. Now, next piece I want to touch on is that Pluto and the North Node, and that's one of the red lines. And Pluto, in this case, is square. And square to the nodes, I'm only showing it square to one, but it's actually square to both because they're polar opposites, the nodes. And this is a karmic point, indicating that Pluto is, in effect, a control piece. And he, in his rulings, always tends to look at the executive branch having power to do pretty much what they want to do. And this is something that's been in his, rulings all along. And it's something I actually will go back and check because I'm a little bit more interested in his rulings now that I've seen his chart. This is saying that, yes, there are two parts, and his karma is actually more focused on going in the other direction. So maybe not towards providing more power to the people and doing a collective, in effect, shift, because that's what this could indicate. It could indicate that his rulings cause a collective shift, and that could cause a shift in power that maybe shouldn't be. Now, next one I want to touch on here is a Saturn trine Jupiter. It's a green line. This is a wonderful angle for someone that is in the legal profession to have. So we have Saturn. These are, in effect, the procedures, the steps, the respect for the law. And we have Jupiter. In effect, the optimism about the law, the knowledge that it's beautiful, uh, that it, provides remedies. So this is a person that can see how the law is, how the justice system is intended to work. But we have this red line coming down from Uranus. Uranus is in opposition to the Jupiter. What does that mean? Uranus is change. Okay. So what's going to happen is that normally that Saturn and the Jupiter would want to do things like have very measured type of opinions, very respectful, very cognitive of legacy type of decisions that came previous. Uranus opposing Jupiter sort of like, nope, don't care about that. Let's change that. So what are we going to see here? Disruption. So Uranus is here to disrupt one part of this. And that part happens to be the Jupiter, which is the expansive part of this Saturn-Jupiter piece. And you see that in his rulings. You see that he doesn't want to expand or maybe to keep things like the diversity type of rulings. You see that in his rulings, he tends to be very focused on not providing too much relief from a specific law. So he's very focused on not making it more than he feels it was originally intended to be. Now, another thing about this is Uranus loves to reinterpret. So yes, this is a person that's going to say, maybe we should go back and examine. So, and that's what you hear from him all the time. You think that, yes, he wants to re-examine, but maybe not necessarily to change it, but maybe to make sure the opinions still hold. Okay? But maybe he just wants to change it too. Now, this Uranus opposing Jupiter also wants to challenge the establishment. So it wouldn't be unusual to make rulings that in effect would cause questions, would cause people to think. Now, let's take a look at our next chart. And this is going to be one of the transits. And pretty important because what he's going to have is to his Sun, Mercury, and Venus, over the next 5 or 6 months, he's going to have planets Pluto hitting him, then planet Saturn, and planet Neptune. So this is going to be shaking up his world from a legal perspective. Again, we're not looking into his personal life. We're looking at the legal environment that he's in and what that can mean for his rulings. So let's take a look at the Pluto here. Pluto hitting things like the Sun, the Mercury, Venus. Pluto is all about control. And this is an inconjunct, so he can't get there from here, which means he has to try and shift things to get in a better position to be able to get control. So in effect, what is he going to do? Well, he's going to be compulsive about things. He's going to be trying to over-control things that he can control because he wants to maintain power. And there's going to be some power struggles here. I'm not sure if this means that, maybe the administration is going to be asking him to sort of step down, maybe, something along that line. I don't have his time of birth, okay? I only have his date of birth. So I can't put this to a house to see where he's actually, this thing is being pushed at. But it could be any number of things coming about. Now, it could also be Pluto is manipulation, power. Could be that he's trying to manipulate others. Could be that people are trying to manipulate him. Chances are there's going to be some challenges to him being impartial. And we've had that before because his wife was involved in something. And he should have recused himself, but he didn't. Next thing, he may be confronted with how he's yielding his authority. which means that he's sitting on the Supreme Court bench. And the decisions need to make sense. They need to have some merit, his opinions to them. So he might be challenged on, is he looking at things? And this might be a little bit more as we get along, because we'll see that since Mercury here is involved, maybe there's something going on with his intellect. Maybe he's misinterpreting things. Now, next thing, because of the Mercury, he could start being obsessive about stuff. Maybe even a little bit paranoid. And this is with Pluto hitting. Again, he may be pressured to justify decisions. And he may feel that he's cornered mentally. So it could be that maybe he's coming up with opinions that the other justices just don't see that. And the next thing we have is when it comes to Venus, and he's always had an issue with integrity in that he was accepting a lot of gifts before without actually noting that he got these gifts. So we may see that coming up again, where he might be compromised. There may be some insecurity here because Venus, your interactions with others, your, being part of a community, all of that may feel like it's being manipulated. And there may also be a perception of bias here against things. So that's from Pluto coming in. Now, Pluto's going to be hitting the sun on 12/8. It's going to be hitting Mercury on 1/1 of next year, and then Venus on 1/24. So pretty much within that, a little bit over a month, Pluto's going to be sort of like popping right over these planets. So we're probably going to be seeing some things happening at that point from the Supreme Court level. Pluto is direct, so this is not stuff that's going to be under the covers. Now, the next thing we see is Saturn doing the same thing. Saturn's going to he's going to have about a month when nothing's really hitting it directly. But he'll still have some of the effects. And then 3/3, we have Saturn coming in to hit the sun. And over the period of 3/3 to 3/15, it's going to hit Mercury and Venus also. So in this case, it looks like there's going to be some public backslash. Okay. Maybe disoriented. Oh, sorry. He's going to feel he's going to be accountable to things. Now, Saturn tends to make people tired, make them exhausted. It's just something that comes with this transit. And since it's hitting 3 planets at a time, I wouldn't be surprised if he's tired, if he's stressed out. He may feel less confident about certain things, and he's probably going to get some harsh criticism from people. And I'm not sure what opinions might be out around this time. So it could be just other types of decisions that are made. He's likely going to be misinterpreted because Saturn here is on Mercury. And Venus being hit, it means his relationships, probably with the other people in the court, are not going to be good. Okay, it's just going to be strained. The Saturn is it's hard. It doesn't, Venus can be very soft, Mercury, wants to get along, sun is like shining, and the Saturn just takes a lot of that away. So people may be saying, oh, wow, bad day. Now let's take a look at our last one here. And this is Neptune. Neptune is going to be hitting from 3/28 up until 5/7. So it's going to hit the sun, Mercury, and then Venus. And by the way, Saturn was direct and Neptune is also direct. So you're going to be seeing this. Okay, we should have evidence. And in this case, Neptune is foggy. So that means there's not going to be any transparency coming from him. So he's not going to be talking about things that are going on. He's going to be ambiguous about things, and he may be projecting. So he may take things that are happening to him and project it onto other people. Now, problem with this is that with Neptune affecting Mercury, he could be confused about things. So confused, could be foggy. His authority can also be undermined here because he may just not be in command of all the facts. Because again, Neptune is very confusing. This also, with Neptune, tends to make you want to believe in an idealized type of justice that just doesn't exist. So that can be an issue here, where it doesn't exist, and you're not fitting into that because it doesn't exist. Because of this Mercury with the Neptune, it's square, so that means lies, being vague, either being deceived or deceiving others, misinterpretation of things, and you could also be a little bit gullible, which is not a good thing for a Supreme Court justice, meaning that he might have a tendency to believe things that he shouldn't believe. He may not be looking at the evidence. And this is one of the things that I wonder whether this doesn't show up a little bit earlier. Because if he's not able to identify or clarify whether something merits examination, then this could be evident to other people on the court. Now, with Venus being hit here, this is coming up, the Neptune is, again, the fog. Venus would be possibly gifts. So is he putting himself in a compromising situation? Does he have clouded judgment because of that? Is he compromised? So these are all things, that might lead to people making some judgments on his ethical behavior, whether it is ethical or not. Now, I expect that this is going to start coming out probably the beginning of December. And since it's happening over a period of a few months, but there's significant angles, we'll probably see these things in sort of a progression. And the Supreme Court does have a lot of important cases to hit on. So it'll be fascinating to watch and see what happens here. Because as I noted in his natal chart, he has a specific way of looking to interpret based on his natal chart. And this may actually change some of this, make him even more, with the Saturn, make him more stricter, definitely more restrained into where he's going. But Pluto not being able to accomplish the type of opinions he wants, and Neptune trying to move to a position that, in effect, is idealized. So there's a lot going on here. Now, I hope you enjoyed this and have a great day. Bye now.